Hey, Chaotic Crew, Brian here, and I've got another fun Spider-Man deck tech for you. Before we dive into that, make sure to like the video if you enjoy it, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out any of our future deck techs or pre-con giveaways, and make sure to become a member of the channel so when we do a pre-con giveaway, you get an extra entry there. But diving into the deck, we're looking at Miles Morales, who transforms into the Ultimate Spider-Man. This actually isn't a deck that I've built first time on the channel, that I'm highlighting a deck that I haven't built myself. One of my friends, Philip, in my inner circle, made this deck and was popping off really hard. He didn't win the first game, but he won the second game. He used it in our play group, and it just ended up doing really well. So I wanted to kind of showcase it here and let you know how it went. I haven't even looked at the deck list yet, so this is the first time we're all looking at it together. So let's talk over Miles first. All right, Miles is a 2-mana 1/2. When Miles enters, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Usually, that's Miles and another creature, right? It's great that Miles can put it on himself. It really helps out, and then when you transform him later, it's really great. Ultimate Spider-Man, you can also cast Miles on the backside for 6 mana, and you can also transform him later for 6 mana. For a first strike hasty 4/3, you can pay 2 mana to put a +1/+1 counter on Ultimate Spider-Man to give him hexproof and become colorless until end of turn. So as long as you have 2 mana open, you can have some kind of protection in your commander, which is really great. Whenever you attack, double the number of each kind of counter on each spider and legendary creature you control. Now this is where the deck gets out of hand, because if you have no way to deal with the board, then these creatures just get massive and massive and massive. So really, we're looking for strong legendary creatures that care about +1/+1 counters and strong spiders. So the way that Phil went about building this deck, it looks like it's mostly about strong legendary creatures with the occasional spider here and there. So let's go into it. Anim Pakal, Thousandth Moon, really great in this deck. 3 mana for a 1/2. When you attack with one or more non-gnome creatures, put a +1/+1 counter on Anim Pakal, then create X 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature tokens that are tapped and attacking, or X the number of +1/+1 counters on Anim Pakal. So essentially, going to get your board absolutely massive with gnomes the more +1/+1 counters are on Anim, and Anim gets harder and harder to block because she just gets so massive. Really great there. Aragorn, Hornburg Hero, is fantastic too. Attacking creatures you control have first strike and renown 1. So giving all your big creatures first strike is amazing. And then renown 1, when a creature with renown 1 deals combat damage to a player, if it isn't renowned, put a +1/+1 counter on it and it becomes renowned. So this is fantastic because the second part is when a renowned creature you control deals combat damage to a player, double the number of +1/+1 counters on it. So another great way in the deck to double the counters on your creatures. Now, Spider-Man is on attack. This, of course, is on damage, but still really good there. Arwen, Mortal Queen, enters with an indestructible counter on it, and obviously as you're proliferating that later in the game, you can remove an indestructible counter from Arwen to give target creature indestructible until end of turn, but it does give the other creatures counters, +1/+1 counters, and a lifelink counter on them, as well as Arwen, so Arwen starts getting big too, so just really kind of synergizes well with the commander there. Arwen, Weaver of Hope, is a 2/1 for 3. Each other creature you control enters the battlefield with a number of additional +1/+1 counters on it equal to Arwen, Weaver of Hope's toughness. Of course, Arwen's going to be getting counters, and it's going to do really well there. Aunt May's in the deck, a legendary creature, and whenever another creature you control enters, you gain 1 life. If it's a spider, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Honestly, I think Aunt May is in the deck here, mainly if you're forced to cast Miles on the backside. There's not a ton of spiders in here. There are a couple, but really Aunt May is here to synergize with Miles. So that way, if Miles does die initially, you can get Aunt May out and then cast Miles on the backside and have it come in with a counter already. Biophagus is great too for that exact reason. You tap to add 1 mana of any color. If it's spent on a creature spell, it enters with an additional +1/+1 counter. So really great mana dork for this deck. Bright Palm, Soul Awakener, another great Naya counter commander, has backup 1. So when it enters, it can put a +1/+1 counter on any creature, including itself. If it puts it on another creature, it gains the following ability. When this creature attacks, double the number of +1/+1 counters on target creature. That creature can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less this turn. So another great way to double stuff. And then Bright Palm itself can also, whenever it attacks, doubles the number of +1/+1 counters on target creatures. So really strong there. Delighted Halfling is a great mana dork. Disciple of Freyalise can draw us lots of cards, and we usually have big creatures that we don't mind sacking, or maybe we have a gnome or something. So yeah, there's different opportunities to do things here. When Fearless Knight, it's great removal and gives your legendary creatures protection from the color of whatever you removed, so or of each color as well. So it really helps your board kind of swing in. Esper Sentinel is a great way to draw cards. If you can get counters on it, then it draws cards even better. Evolution Witness can return permanents from your graveyard to your hand, which is nice. Incubation Druid, another mana dork that synergizes with +1/+1 counters really well. Economy of Whispered Hopes, another mana dork that doubles the number of +1/+1 counters put on your creatures, so that's great too. Kodama of the West Dream makes all of your modified creatures ramp you when they deal damage, and Kutsil is going to draw you cards when they deal damage. It also makes it so opponents can't cast spells on your turn, so very great there. Makari the Lucky Grot is just Krinko, 10 Street Kingpin, 3 mana 1/2. Whenever Makari attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it, then create a number of 1/1 goblin creature tokens equal to Makari's power. So very similar here to a Nimba Call, where you're just trying to get a bunch of tokens in the battlefield and also buff the creature's power. So this deck also has a bit of a token sub-theme that works really well. Nylea, God of the Hunt, is a 6/6 indestructible. As long as your devotion to green is less than 5, Nylea isn't a creature. Gives your other creatures trample, so mass trample is really the main reason Nylea is in here. And then you can obviously pay 4 mana to give another creature +2/+2 until end of turn, which is nice. Old Gnawbone is a legendary creature, and it's going to give you a bunch of treasures, so really, really good there. Prowler is in the deck. Prowler can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, so when you start buffing Prowler with +1/+1 counters, you are going to make it harder for your opponents to chump block this. And then Prowler also has, whenever he deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature you control. So just another generator to get in some damage and to put more counters on your creatures. Shalai Hanalar is really disgusting in this deck with your commander's ability or any of the counter doublers. It kind of is a game ender. Flying Vigilance 3/3, and whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on a creature you control, Shalai Hanalar deals that much damage to target opponent. So yeah, it does a lot of damage there. Shalai is great, protects your creatures and you, and also can put a counter on your whole board, which is really great. Sovereign Okenek Ahau. I don't know if I butchered that or not. Probably did. But Ward 2, 3/4 for 4 mana. And whenever Sovereign Okenek attacks, for each creature you control with power greater than that creature's base power, put a number of +1/+1 counters on that creature equal to the difference. So really just doubling the counters on your creatures. Again, just a really great card here. But this time, Sovereign Okenek has to attack himself, which can be a bit slow in situations. Spectacular Spiderman's great. 2 mana 3/2 with Flash. You can give him flying until end of turn, and you can also sacrifice him to make creatures you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. So kind of an anti-board wipe here. Spider-Man Miles Morales is really great too. It's a 6 mana with Vigilance and Trample, 5/5. Whenever Spider-Man enters or attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control. Those creatures gain Trample until end of turn. So another mass Trample giver. It also is very flavorful. It's a spider, and also is giving your other creatures +1/+1 counters. So really great there. Toski, Bearer of Secrets, is just a legendary creature that once you put a counter on it, your commander is going to make it massive, and then this will draw your cards, refill your hand, so really great there. Twitching Doll, fantastic mana dork for any Spider-Man themed deck, because it is a spider mana dork, and then you can make a ton of 2/2 green spiders. Your commander is also going to double the counters on Twitching Doll as well when you're when anything attacks and your commander's in the battlefield, so really great here to get a massive board of spiders if you need it. Web Warriors, 5 mana 4/3. When this creature enters, put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control. So again, just a mass counter on your whole board, and it's a spider, so it synergizes with the deck pretty decently. So yeah, really cool there. Sorceries, we got 11 of them. of course, there's the ramp, Farseek, Nature's Lore. It looks viewpoint synchronization is in here as well. You're going to be dealing damage with legendary creatures, so having that 3 mana, get 3 lands, 2 in the battlefield, 1 to your hand, is pretty nice. We also have Damning Verdict, which destroys all creatures with no counters on them. Fangs of Colonia, which is, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, then double the number of +1/+1 counters on each creature that had a +1/+1 counter put on it this way. With Overload, so pretty much, gives +1/+1 counters to your whole board. That's definitely a game ender. Last March of the Ints, gonna draw you a buttload of cards and then put all your creatures from your hand onto the battlefield. Really great there. We've got Venom Blast to put 2 +1/+1 counters into our creature. It deals damage equal to its power to up to 1 other turret creature. This is more of a flavor win here to put in the Miles Morales deck. I don't think it's necessarily a great card, but it does put counters on a creature and is removal in one, so maybe it does more work than I realize. But I never saw it in the games that we played it. Split Up, I did see that one. Good board wipe. Destroy all tapped or all untapped creatures. Really strong there. Season of Gathering gives your creatures counters, can destroy all artifacts or enchantments, and can also draw you a bunch of cards. So really strong there. And on the drawing, lots of cards. A Rich Card's Expertise, fantastic in the deck to get you a lot into your hand and then put something in the battlefield for free. So really solid there. Last but not least, the Sorceries is Requisition Raid to get rid of an artifact or an enchantment, or give each of your creatures a +1/+1 counter. So really strong there. Instance, Chroma's Will for another game ender, as if we needed more. Arachnogenesis to help out, right? If we're swinging in a bunch, we're definitely leaving ourselves open to attack. And this deck kind of also struggles against decks with lots of flyers, right? Not a whole lot of flyers here or ways we can block flying. So that is definitely a weak point. So Arachnogenesis really helps, giving us not only spiders with reach, but also preventing combat damage for the turn. So really great there. For removal, we've got a lot. We've got Beast Within, Get Lost, Nature's Claim, Path to Exile, ways to get rid of creatures, artifacts, enchantments. Spectacular Tactics is great as well because it can, protect a creature and give it a counter, or it can destroy a creature. So it's a bit modal in that way. And then we also have Inspiring Call and Heroic Intervention to protect our creatures as well. 5 artifacts in the deck. Soul Ring, which is interesting to see here. I don't hate it. I've been taking out Soul Ring of most of my decks, but yeah, it works pretty well. Shadow Spear for trample and lifelink. The Great Hinge to give all your creatures +1/+1 counters and to draw you more cards. Anduril's interesting here. It has Ascend, so if you control 10 or more permanents, you get the City's Blessing for the rest of the game. And whenever a equipped creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. If you have the City's Blessing, put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control instead. This card definitely dominated when Phil played it, and it was rough to recuperate from that. We also have the Ozolith to make sure all your counters stay on the battlefield in case your creatures die, so that's really great there too. Enchantments, we've got 11 enchantments. Annie Joins Up is going to deal 5 damage to a creature or planeswalker, and then it doubles the triggers of your legendary creatures. So your commander doubling the counters, yeah, that's happening again. So really great there. Court of Garen Brig makes the Monarch, and then also distributes +1/+1 counters, and then it doubles the number of +1/+1 counters in each creature you control if you're still the Monarch on your upkeep. So that's really, really good there. Terra Symbiosis is fantastic. Anytime you're putting 1 or more +1/+1 counters on a creature you control, you may draw that many cards once each turn. So very good there. Thickest in the Thicket doubles the number of power with +1/+1 counters essentially, and then you're going to draw 2 cards of your end step because you control the creature with the highest power. So that's really good. Hardened Scales to add another counter when you're adding counters. Loading Zone is fantastic. This was used on us, right, for the warp cost. Warped it in to double the counters that are put in your creatures for the turn, and then had his commander out, so doubled the counters and then doubled those counters, so essentially quadrupled the counters he put in his stuff. So it just was really rough for us. Rhythm of the Wild is fantastic to give creatures either haste or a counter, which creatures in this deck love both. Sphere Grid gives +1/+1 counter to creatures when they deal combat damage to a player, and then gives all the creatures you control with +1/+1 counters reach and trample. So a way to block some flyers, and also to get through massive damage. Utopia Sprawl is a great ramp piece here. We also have Tribute to the World Tree to draw some cards, but also for our lower power creatures, have them enter in with +1/+1 counters as well. Web Up, when it enters, exile target non-land permanent opponent controls until this enchantment leaves the battlefield, so just another removal spell here. And last but not least, we've got lands. Nothing really crazy. We got Boseiju. We are running Arid Mesa, and what else are we running? Multiversal Passage. I think Arid Mesa is just a way to get like Jetmir's Garden out. Wooded Foothills and Windswept Heath are, yeah, so it's like the fetch lands in those colors. I don't know if I like that. I like using only like the fetches for the colors. I think that definitely makes it a bit more fair than just having all fetches in all your decks. But yeah, that's cool there. We also have Adagia, Windswept Bastion. Can copy artifacts or enchantments you control once it's fully stationed, and having massive creatures makes this easier to station, so that's really good there. And then yeah, just a great land base. Also running Swarmyard to regenerate target Spider, so our commander, and Rogue's Passage to help our commander get through as well. But let's playtest this deck out. It definitely looks like it's going to be really strong. So starting off with lots of lands, Old Gnawbone and Shrine of Lar. I don't hate this, so I'm going to keep it. I'm going to draw, and accidentally drew 2. So we will play this Spire Garden. Sure, why not? And then, or I guess Temple Garden would make sense. We'll do Temple Garden. Turn 2, we'll play the Spire Garden, so... and we played Miles, but now we drew Twitching Doll, so I think we just played Twitching Doll. Right, we want another creature to put counters on, which is definitely nice there. We can also wait and put Shalai Hanalar, and then Miles Morales, and then transform Miles, start going to town. Man, my mouse is double clicking. I don't know what it is. We drew Sunpetal Grove, so let's go ahead and play it, and we can go ahead and tap everything out for Shalayan and Halar. So what's great is if this, if people aren't aware of this, they're not going to remove it, but if they do remove it, that's also fine. This is a really strong card. It's a finisher. We got it early on, but it's great to get early on because it's not going to do a whole lot right now. Right? People aren't scared of it right now. In a few turns, they might be like, I need to get rid of that. But right now, it's like, I don't like that. And so it could get removed, which again is fine, because then we have less removal pointed at our commander. We're going to look weaker on the board and not be targeted as much. And then secondly, if someone doesn't remove it, we're going to get some value off it next turn and deal 2 damage to someone. So, yeah. Next turn, we draw the Damning Verdict, which is cool. We can play this Plains, cast our commander, put a counter on itself and Shalai Hanalar. So now all our creatures have counters. Next turn, we can board wipe if we want to. Because we're getting 2 counters on creatures, Shalai Hanalar can deal 2 damage to someone. So that's that. That's pretty much how this game is going to go, right? We can get Old Gnawbone to get some treasures and stuff like that, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to want a Damning Verdict and then transform Miles at some point, and then maybe we can get a bunch of spiders later on. So it's just an interesting idea there. This time we only have 1 land, so no, we're going to try it again. No lands. Okay. No, it has Soul Ring. I really hate using Soul Ring in... Okay, 3 lands. We'll do this. There's not a ton of ramp pieces in here, but again, our commander's 2 mana, so not really the most needed. Okay, so we draw Esper Sentinel, which is quite a draw, if I do say so. Play it. Yeah, I'm probably not going to get a draw this turn, but we will play it regardless. Alright, and then we'll play the Exotic Orchard. Pass turn, maybe 1 person ramps. And then we'll draw for turn. We do get a forest, which is nice. Let's go ahead and play our... I guess we could have played our commander last turn, right? We had the mana for it to get Esper Sentinel and Miles Morales up. I don't know why I didn't do that. I didn't realize, but I keep forgetting he's 2 mana. So that's really good there. Yeah, give a counter to Esper Sentinel and Miles. So you have a 2/3 and a 2/2. Just swinging in for 2 damage, right? And then this turn, yeah, if we played it right, we could play the Forest and then Arwen to get an indestructible counter on it. So yeah, really, really good there, and just getting a solid board state that is going to be difficult. Our opponents are going to want to remove Esper Sentinel over Miles, right? And Arwen's going to be difficult to remove, but they're going to want to remove that as well if they can. So our board's starting to look like annoying, annoying to deal with. Let's do one more game, and it's a lot of lands. Let's not do that. Okay, 2 lands. Terra Symbiosis and Loading Zone and Kutsil is not bad. Let's keep it, see what happens. We draw the Great Hinge, probably the highest mana value card in our deck. Next turn. Okay, one more turn to draw a land. And we did it. Never punished. I forgot to play Miles last turn. And which is interesting, right? We don't have another creature to give the counter to, but we just put a counter on itself, which is fine. And now we can play, let's say, Kutsil is probably the play, so we can start drawing cards. We can play Kutsil, swing in with Miles, deal damage to someone, draw a card. Which is great because we want ways to put counters on our creatures and lands. We do get a land, which is nice. We pay 1 life, view our library. We'll just get a Forest. Okay. And we could play Loading Zone as an enchantment. We could play Terra Symbiosis. There's no way to get counters on our creatures except for Requisition Raid. So maybe we just play Toski and try and get 2 damage in if we can somewhere else. Everyone may have blockers, everyone may not. They may also dictate what you do here. But yeah, something to think about. We could also leave mana up for Get Lost and Requisition Raid on like an opponent's turn. I don't hate putting Toski out because then people are more incentivized to block. I don't know. You could definitely go different ways with this hand. Once you start getting more ways to put counters on your creatures, then Terra Symbiosis is going to put in a lot of work. Loading Zone is going to do a lot. Yeah, so very, very strong. But you could also Great Hinge. Great Hinge is only costing 6 mana right now, so in a couple turns you could definitely play that and kind of go from there. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the deck tech. Like I said, this deck was really strong when we played against it, so I wanted to showcase it here. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of our future deck techs or pre-con giveaways. And make sure to become a channel member so that you get an extra entry on those future pre-con giveaways too. Looking forward to seeing you next time. Have a good one. Bye.